Hey, what's up, guys? LegalBro here today, breaking down the Trump indictment. Let's get into it.
Reaction to the Trump indictment from his allies is off the charts.
This is repulsive. It's a disgusting political hit job.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Republicans are united in outrage.
Give the president some money to fight this bull.
Even his rivals for the 2024 presidential nomination have his back.
The unprecedented indictment of a former president of the United States on a campaign finance issue is an outrage.
It is somewhat interesting, right? We've got Trump, he was just indicted. They're saying that the hush money he gave through his lawyer, Michael Cohen, was somehow violated campaign finance laws because the money was given to Stormy Daniels to kind of keep her quiet. But what's interesting about what Mike Pence is saying is that it's unprecedented. Why? Because you actually cannot charge a president with a crime while they are president. If Joe Biden does something unlawful, we can't charge him once he gets out of office because that would violate our Constitution. What's so interesting about this is, do you think when several states across the country reopened the statute of limitation for sexual assault survivors, that anybody was like, hey, we should indict Bill Clinton, let's hold him accountable, right? They probably could have done that. There were some stories going back years and years and years of victims that had made complaints and different things that had happened. You go to George Bush, right? George Bush is doing some shady stuff with Enron. You've got Dick Cheney doing some wild stuff, former board members of these oil companies that may have done some improper things that led us into this war with Iraq. So it's super difficult, then you go back and you look at Hillary Clinton, right? You look at the Clinton Foundation. You're telling me there's nothing there that we could have gone after? You look at Biden in Ukraine. You're telling me there's nothing that Biden was doing that was improper with China and Ukraine? I think I agree with Pence here insofar as, look, this is unprecedented. We don't want to drag our political opponents through the mud just because there's a regime change. There's this underlying current of, well, that former president, let's kind of let it go. I'm not sure. It's difficult. Obviously you want to hold everybody accountable. Nobody's above the law. But how do you let all of these other high-profile politicians away with things and you can't pick and choose, right? It's either all or nothing. And I do agree with Pence here that it is unprecedented.
DeSantis put out a tweet defending the former president, maybe the only moment of Republican unity over the next year.
Trump's sons, Eric and Don Jr., got emotional as they lashed out at Manhattan's DA, Alvin Bragg.
These people are evil. They're wicked.
This is like communist level.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, when I first heard that this indictment was coming down, I kind of thought for a second, okay, this is probably what they do in parts of the world, right? Like, okay, in Russia and China, you have somebody on the ballot who is an opponent to essentially a dictator. Yeah, so as soon as you get elected, that political opponent is going to jail. It's sort of interesting, right?
Posted a message on Instagram. I love my father and I love my country. Today, I am pained for both. As for Democrats, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi tweeted, "No one is above the law and everyone has the right to a trial to prove innocence."
You gotta love that. Nancy Pelosi, pot calling the kettle black. She's been trading on insider information for the better half of the last 40 years. I mean, her salary is $400,000 a year, folks, and her family's net value is over $500 million, maybe even more. Her husband is a trader and trades $5 million a hand, right? If he was playing roulette, it would be 100 on green every single time green hits, and everybody else is what is going on? The odds here are terrible. But miraculously, the Pelosi's can pick and choose, and everything they touch is a winner. You're telling me that we're going to believe that Nancy Pelosi, who makes $400,000, could somehow grow that to be worth $500 million without inside information? Come on. She should be the next on the list. If we're going to bring down Trump, well, we got to bring down them all because nobody's above the law, right? Right? Unbelievable.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said in a statement, Mr. Trump is subject to the same laws as every American. He will be able to avail himself of the legal system and a jury not politics, to determine his fate. Stormy Daniels says she popped a bottle of champagne. Thank you to everyone for your support and love. I have so many messages coming in that I can't respond. Also, don't want to spill my champagne.
Maybe the only person that this is great for, right? Stormy Daniels is having the PR campaign of a lifetime. Good thing she dropped that loser Michael Avenatti. And now obviously we know that the next time Stormy makes money, it can't be stolen by Michael. Touche, Stormy.
He's seething right now. He is beyond angry.
Michael Cohen, Trump's former fixer and a convicted felon, turned to the CNN camera and taunted his old boss.
Oh, by the way, for Donald, since we're talking about convicted felons, see you on Tuesday, pal.
Michael Cohen, please just go on with your life. We don't need to hear you on CNN now talking, right? It's the same thing if it was reversed. I don't want to hear some person now slamming a Democrat for something like that. Can you please move on? Michael Cohen has more skin in this game. Donald Trump effectively ruined Michael Cohen's life. Well, let me take that back. Michael Cohen ruined his own life and then blamed it all on Donald Trump. So obviously now Michael Cohen has an iron in the fire, right? He's got a dog in the fight. He's got some skin in the game. Think about what Michael Cohen is doing, right? He's parading around. He might as well be the next Michael Avenatti. He's going on TV. He's doing all these appearances. He's talking about how screwed Donald Trump is. Michael, let's stop while you're behind, pal. You greased Stormy Daniels yourself. We already know that. He admitted it, right? Michael Cohen admitted that he made this payment to Stormy Daniels, and it wasn't from pressure from Donald Trump. What was it? Well, it was Michael paying Stormy. There are a number of things that could have been for. Gee, I don't know. Maybe Stormy Daniels humiliating and embarrassing one of the most famous families in America. That would seem like a reason to be like, hey, let's settle down, right? That happens all the time. All the time. Non-disclosure agreement, rich person. The reality is that Michael Cohen is not going to be the champion that I think the prosecution thinks he is. Michael Cohen's going to be their star witness. Hey, Michael, you got any skin in the game? Do you hate your former boss over here? I mean, could anybody believe him, like, credibly? I don't know. I don't know.
Star witness, and many are questioning why he's sounding off on national TV.
Should Michael Cohen be on television?
Absolutely not. Michael Cohen has a major, deep, seething hatred for Donald Trump. Every one of these media appearances gives the defense more ammunition.
Bingo.
On that.
Famed legal scholar Alan Dershowitz tells Inside Edition the indictment should be condemned.
Based on what we know now, this seems like a very weak case, stringing together a misdemeanor and a federal felony. Let's wait and see, but I'm very skeptical.
Can the former president get a fair trial here in Manhattan?
Absolutely not. The case should be moved to Staten Island or to upstate New York, where there's a possibility of a fair trial.
Why Staten Island or upstate New York?
Because they have a much more balanced population. Here it was between 80 and 90% of the voters voted against Trump, and they will vote against Trump again in the jury room.
Meanwhile,
so those of you at home that are like, Alan Dershowitz, where do I know that name? You'd remember that from O.J. Simpson trial, right, in the 90s. There's another villain that Alan Dershowitz represented, right? Jeffrey Epstein. You remember seeing the Acosta stuff? Acosta was the federal prosecutor down there in the Southern District of Florida, and Dershowitz and him worked out a sweetheart deal that allowed Jeffrey Epstein to avoid prosecution at the federal level and also, you know, some Palm Beach jail for his sentence where he could leave and go to work and bang hookers and whatever. I mean, it's unbelievable. But that's how you know Alan Dershowitz, right? Although Alan Dershowitz is one of the brightest legal scholars of our time, and he is absolutely correct in that the only way that you could ever get a fair trial related to this Trump indictment would be if you move jurisdictions. You can't have it in a place where everybody hates Trump. Just the same way you probably couldn't, try Hillary Clinton in a super red part of Texas, right? She'd never get a fair shake. Same thing here. Donald wouldn't get a fair shake in this blue district. So they got to move it elsewhere. And that's kind of part of the reason for this potential gag order too, is that they need to keep everything buttoned up, because the more that gets out there in the media, the more impact that it could have on potential jurors, and the more minds will be made up when they go to pick the jury pool. So when the court has the venire come in, right, that's the jury panel, right, and they go to impanel the jury, they're going to sit here and say, do you have any prejudice against Donald Trump? Are you able to be fair? They're going to say the same thing. Are you in favor of Donald Trump? Is there anything that we could say here that would make you convict him, right? They don't want extremes. The court is going to be looking for, and the parties, right? The defense attorneys and the prosecution, they're going to be looking for people that can be fair. Do you have the ability to be fair? That's going to be very difficult. You're indicting the former president of the United States. There are going to be opinions one way or the other. Very difficult case to try to find an impartial jury.
While Trump is making his feelings known on Truth Social, he was up at 3 a.m. posting "So Sad." Earlier, he called the indictment political persecution and election interference.
He's in fighting mode. He's ready to go.
Alina Habba is Trump's personal attorney.
If you had to make a prediction on how this is going to go, what would you say?
We're going to win, like we usually do.
The Trump campaign is using the indictment to raise money, bombarding supporters with emails, urging them to contribute. And look who else is using the indictment to raise money: Stormy Daniels. Merch autograph orders are pouring in, she tweeted.
All right, so that's going to be interesting. I think what the left has done is they may have just poured gasoline on Donald Trump's campaign. Trump is going to be bounding forward, right? And you hear DeSantis come out. DeSantis is like, oh, well, if they try to come down here, I'm not going to help the federal government extradite Trump. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. That's like the old straw. Trump already said he'd go to New York. So DeSantis is trying to score some easy political points. DeSantis is like taking a layup, right? And there's nobody even playing defense. Like everybody's at the cooler getting some water and he's like, oh, watch, I just got 2 points. Yeah, we know DeSantis. It's not like Trump needs your help. Trump's going to go there on his own. But what's super interesting is this may be the exact thing that Trump needs to bound forward and win the political nomination for the GOP. If Trump wants to be on the ticket, he probably just got more support because of the fact that he's always talking about this witch hunt. He's talking about draining the swamp. And he's going to get people to now buy into that idea even further, my opinion, because of this. So anybody can turn bad news into great news. Who knows? I guess only time will tell if this is a bad thing for Donald Trump. But if I'm somebody, if I'm Nikki Haley, if I am Ron DeSantis, if I'm anybody else in the Republican Party, this is probably something that's worrisome because Trump is going to garner so much support from this indictment and a ton of publicity, good, bad, or otherwise. If you like this content, you want to see more about the Trump indictment, give me a comment below, like and subscribe. LegalBro giving you all the legal news.